It's been a lot of fun watching some of the freak out, and we got some clips here to see how some of the folks, particularly the rich, particularly the right, aren't too excited about what happened over the weekend.
Yeah, this is a hot off the presses of our business cable news. So they're getting really serious over there. And this is, what is his name, Sorkin, talking about some effects Zohran is already having on our business leaders who, we expect to steward our economy into the future.
The wealthy who might be looking for a therapist after yesterday's election. And more importantly, were looking for therapy when they heard that Lina Khan was joining the transition team.
Which just goes to show you, looking back at the Biden administration, I mean, she had a very important job and we had her on all the time and hung on.
I think we should have her back and talk about what's going to happen in New York City.
But let's just know. Okay, so as long as we know what, I mean, she is a
no, but that's what I'm saying.
She was running a very important department in the Biden administration.
Well, no, I wonder what it portends for business in New York. It was funny.
It's great for business. It's awesome.
A number of business leaders in New York reached out to me yesterday. I was traveling back from London, and it wasn't even the election result itself. It was when this Lina Khan announcement was made.
Right.
It was like they were sort of like frozen in place, and talked. I mean, some of the texting and back and forth was more about sort of what had happened to the merger business. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of bankers in this city, financiers in this city, and sort of what the approach is. I don't know if she's going to have a role in the future.
What can she do, though? I mean,
the future group or not?
What my question was, this appears to nationalize a city mayoral staff, right? Instead of saying we're going to operate the city as good managers, which is what the mayor's job is, it somehow makes it seem like we're going to be a platform for some national ideological...
I don't know. I was also surprised by that there were so many people from the de Blasio administration.
I just wanted to get that last point because the guy tries to make it into something about like, oh, they're so focused with national, and then the next point Sorkin makes is, oh yeah, they're bringing a lot of alumni from the previous administration in, but very Lina Khan. I mean, she's. I mean,
it shows how tired the playbook is of folks who are friendly to the rich and to the powerful. That Zohran Mamdani in this campaign has been, something that has been so front and center, not just in New York, but nationally at this point. And people had plenty of opportunity to be kind of turned off or scared. And they weren't. Over and over and over when people were having those conversations at the door, folks were not just saying, wow, this sounds good, but how can I get involved and how can I help this out? Because it sounds very nice if the government actually starts looking out for working people. And it shows again, I mean, just how afraid and well off the kind of financial class in this country has been, that the kind of antitrust politics that Lina Khan represents is seen as just such an existential threat to them. Is because they don't want to have regulations on them, right? Yep. They don't want there to be public oversight over their operations. And I think if you are somebody who wants to take advantage of working class people to fleece them, you should be worried. If you're somebody who wants to be able to live like a nice, comfortable life, a life of dignity in New York City, you should be really, really excited. And the fact of the matter is that it's a very, very small minority of people who are afraid of this. And it's because they are inherently opposed to this kind of democratic, economic, populist politics that has been so effective, represented by Zohran Mamdani.
It's monopoly capitalism has lost the base for capitalists because Zohran won small businesses around Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Have Zohran posters and they've had it up since this summer. He won them over massively. It's not just, renters in the commie corridor. And Lina Khan represents something that capitalism could benefit from massively, like it did the FDR sort of reforms. It would give it a new lease on life because the concentration creates a contradiction that is not sustainable politically or otherwise for that system. And they're acting like she is. And then I saw there's another one, Patrick Bet-David. We don't have time. We'll introduce the folks to Patrick Bet-David who don't know him in the future. But they're talking about the rent control policies and the rent freeze as if they don't understand what the administrative capabilities of mayors in New York historically have been. like it's some sort of new thing, or like the grocery stores, as if Zohran is coming in saying all the grocery stores are city owned now. They don't have the capacity, and instead they fall back on these two sort of amulets between that are kind of like hard to use at the same time, to say he's a scary Muslim that's instituting the first steps of Sharia law, and also he's a communist revolutionary. And when neither of those things work on him, like, they're left floundering.
Well, I mean, I think this is the point, and something we should be very excited about here is that socialism is just no longer a scary word to most American citizens. And yeah, they've relied on that for a long time. They've also relied on politics being something that's only for the elite, right? It's mediated through like major mainstream media, right? Those are the only people who get airtime, who get their message across. And in large part, it's been mediated by this like hyper donor class. And Zohran was able to beat both of those throughout his campaign. And it really goes to show that, like, despite all of the claims by those on the right, by those in the financial media, that they actually represent like the real common sense position, no, they're the ones who are the fanatics. They are the ones who are out of touch. And on that, let's maybe get to Steve Bannon, one of the masterminds behind Trump's first victory, and his analysis of the election. This is shortly after Zohran Mamdani was announced as the winner of the election last week.
Here's how he's done it. He kind of took the Trump playbook to the Working Family Party and the DSA have a beast of a ground game. They've got thousands of people canvassing every day. They're bringing every potential. This is why in Brooklyn you're seeing these, in these other sectors of New York City, you're seeing these kind of numbers, because Cuomo had all the money in the primary, had $40 million. This kid had nothing. It's about putting it together. And the Working Family Party and DSA are essentially Marxist entities, okay? But they've got ground game, just like the Bolsheviks know about ground game. These guys got it. They went and knocked on doors. They didn't rely on TV ads. And that's what you're seeing tonight. In the establishment in New York City, forget the Republican establishment. The Republican Party is irrelevant. But the business establishment, the financial community establishment kept this dream going on that Eric Adams and Sliwa were going to drop out and give Cuomo a shot. It didn't materialize. Here's how.
So, you know, from his mouth to God's ears, I'll tell you, it is 100% true that the establishment has just been completely shown as ineffective and as unrepresentative of everyday people. And this is a victory that we should take beyond just this one victory. The whole country was watching this, and they were looking to see how somebody like Zohran Mamdani would be able to do once they went up against one, a political dynasty, one against like a very, very well-funded candidate in Cuomo. And Mamdani was shown to not only be effective, but actually just able to completely dominate in every aspect of this Democratic Party establishment, this pro-business, anti-worker establishment. And they're afraid. And I think Steve Bannon, you know, is definitely a ridiculous figure, but I take his fear as a badge of honor. And I think it's something that we all should be taking as well.
Yeah. I'll say I don't want to get too deep into complaints I have with the Working Families Party, say when maybe Bernie Sanders was running for president previously.
That's how we know you're a vet, Matt.
What's amazing is the Zohran campaign really healed a lot of the distrust between the sort of establishment-y progressive left and the more socialist left. And I think it's a really important thing that basically progressives realized that we have to bend the knee and let socialists lead and not think that we can be junior partners with corporate Democrats. That is a huge shift, and that is a direct threat to Bannon, because Bannon is, look, he was a Goldman Sachs banker, I think. He was also a movie producer. He's a snake oil salesman. He is there to lie about this stuff entirely. So when he says, you know, there's a clip we played years ago on our show of him saying Bernie turned his back on the working class. And, well, it turns out that Bernie is more consistent on certain things like even H-1B visas than Donald Trump is and his guy. And so, like, these sort of things about who is representative of the working class, it's worked for Bannon because the Democratic establishment hasn't been able to contest it. Exactly. They've given it up.
And I think that this is one of the important messages to take from this. And one of the reasons that I'm feeling so confident on this is that our opponents are running scared, because for a very long time, the right the and the kind of financial class has been able to take advantage of a situation where you have a Democratic establishment that is unwilling or uninterested in speaking to the needs of everyday working class people. And at a moment right now where so many people are so frustrated and so worried about what's going on, I mean, what's happening just, down the road from me here in Austin on a regular basis is horrendous. These ICE raids, these attacks on working class people. The fact that so many people are looking for an answer, right? And they're not finding in the Democratic leadership. They're finding it in Zohran Mamdani's campaign and in democratic socialism. And I think that we should take a lot of confidence for our position in that, is that it's not just, we're finding answers in like a kind of stronger, more pugnacious, kind of politics, but actually politics that is centered in the needs of working class people and the belief that working class people should have a say over their lives, and in democratic socialism. And they have no answer for it. And I think maybe to wrap this up, we can look at my governor's reaction to Zohran's victory, which I think again shows that these boys are running scared. Greg Abbott says, after the polls close tomorrow night, I will impose a 100% tariff on anyone moving to Texas from New York. And of course, it's a totally nonsensical position, but it shows that these guys don't even have any answers anymore. Because for so long, they screamed Marxism, communism, socialism, in Zohran's case, Sharia law. And every time they did that, people look towards Zohran, they say, man, I kind of like what this guy is about and what he's saying. For so long, these guys have gotten so lazy in politics because they haven't had a real opposition to go up against. They haven't had to go up against a politics that really centers the needs of everyday people in a kind of visceral, moving, mobilizing, and motivating way. And they have no answer for it. And this is a time for us to kind of really go full on the attack and build up a strong alternative that can win from New York to Houston, all across the country.